Tutorials with Michael.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Casa. We're gonna be installing this Hyfix triple band GEODNET miner and reference station. So essentially what this does is it corrects GPS signals. Well, GNSS is Global Navigation Satellite System. So GPS is one of them, what's most commonly used in the US. And there's GLOSNOT and a few different ones around the world. China has their own system as well. And it basically goes from being 2 to 3 meters of inaccuracy down to 1 centimeter of precision. And so this device, together with this antenna, is what allows us to do that. And for doing so, we're going to be mining GEOD tokens from GEODNET. So now basically what we're going to do is a site survey. So we're going to figure out where's the best place to install this. We need to look for power because this guy has to be powered via this. Then we're also going to need to connect this to this, which means that this may be outdoors, in which case we need to figure out how to protect this from the elements as well. And then most importantly, we're going to have to figure out where to physically install this on a roof, right? So that it's quite vertical, because it needs to be very 1-2 degrees of due north straight. And then also it needs to have that unrestricted sky access. So let's try to figure out where that could be. So we're here at my house. It's a bit tricky because ideally I could just install it here, but as you can see, we have roof over here, we have trees over here, we have basically it's not an ideal area for this use case whatsoever. But what is cool is that I had this installed, which is power. So we do have AC power here, and then we also have access to the roof directly here, and that's the actual roof of the building. So my idea is that we'll basically run a cable up this column here so it's a bit protected from the elements. We'll put it outside right there. We'll then install the actual antenna. We'll drill it into the wall of the roof, and that will give us pretty good signal. It's still not ideal because this tree is going to block things a little bit, but unfortunately I don't have access to a better spot right now for this video, so I think that's where we're going to put it. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my roof. So we are here in a little bit outside of Lisbon, Portugal. This is the town of Cascais, which is kind of a major sort of like resort town outside of Lisbon, and then Lisbon's about 25 kilometers that way. This is a very dense area. A lot of people live around here, like the greater metropolitans, like 3 million people. So it's actually a good place to have GNSS correction, but luckily we're kind of in a suburb, so there's more open space and easy access to the roof. So I think this is actually a pretty good place for a device. Now, the idea is to install it over here. My thoughts are to install it basically right here. The one issue you're going to want to look out for, so if this is an ideal installation, you won't want to have a big tree like this actually higher than your antenna, because it's actually going to block. Basically, if there was like satellites floating around in space and that signal was coming from this side, it's going to be heavily obstructed, right? So you actually probably want it there where you have basically direct access all the way around, almost 180 degrees, right, from side to side, with maybe about 10 to 12 degrees can be blocked on either side, but you want the rest to be unrestricted. So this technically isn't an ideal spot. However, we'll probably do it here because A, I don't have access to that. B, I don't have a ladder with me today. And my home is actually here. So this is the balcony that we were just looking at earlier. We have a power supply right there on the outside, which is very convenient. We'll then run the cable directly up through here. And then the idea is to actually physically install the antenna on this wall here. So we'll actually drill with 2 little brackets here, put in the metal rod, and put the antenna here. The reason I like this spot is because A, we have some protection on each side from the elements, and it's easily accessible. We could put it here because then the cable doesn't have to go over this little ledge, but in case we make a mistake or something, I don't really want to drop the antenna and break it. So I think this is a bit safer of a spot. So besides the tree, I think it's pretty good. So that's our game plan. Let's give it a shot. All right, so we have these fasteners. So we got to unscrew them so we can open them up. And then we're going to drill holes to put the fasteners on, tighten them back down around this rod here. So taking these off. The last experience was messy, yeah. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is day 2 because we were running out of daylight and we had other things to do. So we're coming back out now on a fresh sunny day to finish the installation. So what we've achieved is pretty simple. We bought these very cheap braces. These cost like $2 basically. They have a nail that you can't really see here, but we basically drilled a big screw about this long into the cement wall. To do that, we needed to use a mason drill bit on a power drill. We put it in the hammer setting so you can like not just screw but also hammer. It makes it much easier for cement. We basically bored a hole in, widened it a little bit, put in an expander, so basically like a piece of plastic that grabs onto the inside. And then to do that, we basically had to take the nail, hammer it in with the expander until the expander was all the way flush with the side of the wall. Then we simply screwed the screw into the expander to put this in place. So we already have this one in. Now all we need to do is screw on the other side, which is this cover here. It's a little bit turned because this first hole actually wasn't super straight, so you can see it's turned. But as long as we keep it tight, it should be okay. So that's what we're going to do. Basically put a screw in here, and then another one in here. So there we go. So now we have 2 of these here. The goal is to get this so it doesn't move. Ideally, GEODNET says, it shouldn't even move 1 millimeter in the wind. I mean, that might be on a really heavy windy day, hard to achieve. It'll probably move a little bit, but as long as it stays more or less vertical, it should be okay. What I would suggest is instead of using this type of brace, which just has a single input in the back, and then you tighten it on the sides, would be to actually use just one brace across the front and actually tighten it in, basically bore in 2 holes and screw it directly into the cement. So it's like this, and that way the tighter you drill it in, the more you're putting pressure on this. So if this isn't enough for you, you could always buy maybe one more and tighten it here in the front. But I think for this use case, this should be good enough. So there we go. Now we just have to put on the actual antenna. The antenna. Okay guys, so we have the actual station set up there and it's done. So the antenna's on, everything's powered. Well, technically it doesn't actually need to be powered, it's powered by this. So what we're gonna do is now we have the cable running into my house. Eventually, I'm actually gonna put this outdoors because I have the power outlet outdoors, but I need to weatherproof this, put it in a box. So right now we're not gonna worry about that. I'm just gonna bring it into my house where my computer is so you guys can actually see how to connect this to your network. Get it from access point mode into station mode so it's actually transmitting, and then go in and register it with the GEODNET console. So that's what we're going to do. So on the back of your device, so this is the reference station, I'm using a Hyfix one, you'll see 3 different connections basically. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, that's going to be where the antenna goes. The GNSS, which I believe is the original dual band, and the GNSS Plus, which is the triple band. So we're going to be using the plus and then putting the antenna here. So first and foremost, technically, I guess, according to the right way to do it, we should put in the antenna first. So let's do that. It's super easy, just screw it on. And that's good. And then we'll power it here. So to do that, it comes with, whoops, where did I put it? Over here. It comes with already a power device. So what you guys should be getting in your box is something that looks like this. Obviously this is for Europe, but really all you need is USB-C. So you just need power to USB-C. Now, we'll plug this into the USB port. So USB-C, so it just goes in there. Right away you can see the power is now on and the Wi-Fi is flashing. So when the Wi-Fi is flashing, it's actually trying to connect because I connected it a while ago. That's why it's blinking slower, but it will fail. And as long as it's still flashing, that means you're in access point mode. Access point mode means this basically serves as an access point, almost like its own little Wi-Fi router. That way you can connect to it, you can configure it. Once it's configured, what will actually happen is it will connect onto your Wi-Fi network, and then this will just say Wi-Fi.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so now we are going to show how to actually configure the reference station. First it's sitting over here next to me. I can't really pull it any farther because the cable's not that long. First in access point mode, so we can configure the device itself, and then it will actually turn on and it will automatically then convert into station mode, and at that point we can do the last bit of configuration and then actually register it with the GeoDNet console so that we can start mining rewards. So to do that, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get on the Wi-Fi network. So I have two, as you can see, I have a 2.4 gigahertz and a 5. Do not use the 5. If you use the 5, you're not going to be able to find the access point. You actually have to use a 2.4 gigahertz network. So mine keeps trying to default to the 5, which is annoying, but I'm switching it now. There we go. So it should be okay. Now, it doesn't show up, obviously, because it's not a known network, but if you go into other networks, you will now see, boom, there it is, mobile CM. So there's a chance it might be slightly different for you, but normally the syntax is mobile CM and then underscore, and then it will be the last couple digits, the last 6 to be exact, which are actually found as a serial number here. Again, you can barely see because my cable doesn't go that long, but it's actually will show up here. So that's where I got those numbers from. So now we're going to click on it. So for your password by default should be the entire 12 digits, so letters and numbers that again should be found on the back of your device. So I'm looking at mine here. I'm going to type it in. All right, now let's see if that works. Yes, and it did. Okay, perfect. So now we're connected to our actual reference station. Okay, so this is the configuration screen for your mobile CM, or basically your GeoDNet reference station. So this should pop up on its own, hopefully. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal, don't worry. All you have to do is type this into your browser. So 192.168.4.1, and then that will open up this page. So in this configuration page, SSID is basically just like technical speak for the name of your Wi-Fi network. So this is the Wi-Fi network that you're going to be using normally. So it's probably your home Wi-Fi network. So obviously you can just find that up here. This is mine. So I'm just going to type that in. Make sure again that you don't add in anything for 5G. It needs to be on the 2.4 gigahertz. Then the password is the password of your home Wi-Fi network. So don't type in anything that's related to your GeoDNet device. I'm just going to double check that because I might have made a typo. There we go. Then the miner key. Remember, the miner key is what's found on the back of the device. So again, normally there will be a sticker on the back of your hardware, but I would recommend just writing it down so you just have it somewhere in front of you. And it's all 12 characters. So that will be both letters and numbers. Then it'll start doing its magic. Okay, and there we go. So technically that should already be set up and working. Now, the next step is we actually have to go into your network management settings. So basically like your admin panel of your Wi-Fi router. So this will be basically your internet service provider's website. Now, if we're in here, this is going to look a bit different for everyone. So you have to take this part with a bit of a grain of salt. But if you can go into like, sometimes it's like configuration, definitions, basically you can see everything that is connected, like all your different Wi-Fi networks, like the 5 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz. And if I go into Wi-Fi here, I can actually see this express if. So express if is what you want. Now, if you open it, and then again, this will look a little bit different for everyone. This is how I actually pull up the IP address of expressive. So what I'm going to do is actually just copy this because I need that URL essentially, so that then I can put that here. And as you can see, we are now basically inside of the mobile CM settings, or I guess control panel, admin panel, whatever you want to call it. And we can see that it's transmitting. You can ping it. You can see that it's online. You can see stuff about the Wi-Fi quality, basically everything you need. Now, bad power supply device reboots frequency. This is kind of like the health of the device. Please check the charger. Maybe I need to check the charger. However, nothing is actually going to be happening. If we ping it, it will fail because I haven't plugged in the actual external base station. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to actually plug in the cable now, and then this will be good to go. And then what we need to do is actually register it to the GeoDNet console. And just note that once you do have it configured, once you get that IP address from your admin panel of your router, what will happen is actually the light will stop blinking and will start flashing along green. Once it just stays green under Wi-Fi, that means that you're actually properly connected to the network and everything is good to go. Okay, so now we're going to actually connect to GeoDNet's console. So this is where things get more interesting. So console.geodnet.com is the website you want to go to. If you try to just log in and click mine, it will say that you're not authorized because the first thing you need to do is actually sign in or join. So just go back to sign in and join. And now we're going to create an account. All right, perfect. Okay, so now you can see your username here. I don't believe we need to connect a wallet because we already connected a wallet with the account. Yeah, and actually for some reason right now that button's not working on their website. So let's not worry about that. Now we're gonna go into mine and you have to verify your email address. So I'm gonna do that real quick and then come back. Okay guys, so now I have verified my email address. And so when I click mine, this opens up here. And by the way, it was slightly slow, so after you verify your email, you might just like need to leave the page open and kind of let it load for 30 seconds or so, and then eventually you'll come into this page. So once you're in, you click Add Miner. Then the miner SN is the 12-digit serial number. Again, that's found on the back of your miner. This is why I was saying it could be a good idea also to write this down so you don't have to keep running to your miner and like flipping it upside down and trying to hold it near your computer. Nickname, so you can just come up with your own nickname for your miner. I'm just going to call it. Okay, so it was saying that it was incorrect. So I'm actually going to try to use the same 12-digit code here as the miner key and just see what happens. Oh yeah, and it worked. Okay, so there might be an issue there. I'm not super sure if that's a bug or not, but for me to get it to work, I tried to type in my GeoDNet password that I created. That's what I was originally told to do, but actually that didn't work. I had to put in the serial number on the back of the miner. So I put it in both fields and then it worked. So you can then go in and change the password and stuff later from here, but just note that you might have to put in the serial number twice. Now it said add success, check in the map after the next hour. And basically what that means is that right now we're not actually mining anything. It'll probably take like 24 hours or so to mine. You want to make sure you turn on token issuance because that means that the wallet address that you pasted in will start receiving GEOD tokens. But again, you probably have to wait about 24 hours or so for it to start mining. To check what's going on, you can use GeoDNet's Map Explorer. So that's just when you click the map link on the menu. Now it's loading, and you can see that the entire global GeoDNet network has over 6,000 reference stations installed, so it's pretty big. You can also have a little look at like how stable the whole thing is. Note also, we're not going to go into this in this video, but there are certain areas that GeoDNet is actually giving bonus rewards to because they're trying to like incentivize more reference stations in those areas, most likely because they actually have demand, meaning like, you know, private sector or government demand for their solutions. And so they need more stations there. So you also might want to check if the zone that you installed yours in is in a super hex, because you could get up to 4x multiplier on your rewards. Now, if we click on my miner, we can actually see if maybe we can find the one we just installed. I'm going to move myself a little bit out of the way here so that you guys can see. So I click on my miner, and yeah, that's cool. So even though we literally just did that. It's actually showing up. You can validate there, you know, you can do it on your own. We've blanked it out here, but that's the serial number that you find on the back of your device. And then you can see some information here. Obviously, we haven't really mined anything yet because we just installed it. But if you come back in a day or so, you should actually start seeing some data here, and you should actually start getting some rewards. So that's essentially it, ladies and gentlemen. Wasn't really that hard. It's just, I mean, the trickiest part is probably finding a good location and, you know, drilling it in and fastening it. The actual online setup is pretty simple. So we might make some other videos in the future telling you a little bit more about GeoDNet and some tips and tricks, but from 0 to 1 to get yourself going and start mining those sweet, sweet GEOD tokens, it's basically all you need. So thanks for tuning in, and see you on the next one.